Okay. So start with chapter 9, verse number 5. Yeah. So can you repeat after me? ये तु तदीय चरणाम्बुज कोशगन्धम्
ये तु
त्वदीयचरणाम्बुजकोशगन्धम्
जिघ्रन्थि कर्णविवरे श्रुतिवातनीतम्
जिघ्रन्ति कर्णविवरे श्रुतिवातनीतम्
भक्ता गृहीत चरणा परया च तेषाम्
भक्त्या
चरणा
गृहीतचरणपरया
परया
च
च
तेषाम्
नयापेशिनाथ हृदयाम्बुरुहात् स पुंसाम्
नापैसिनाथ
हृदयाम्बुरुहात् स
हृदयाम्बुरुहा
पुंसाम्
पुंसाम्.
Actually, you had done this verse yesterday. I'll just summarize it. So, ye tu tadiye charanam mosagandam digrantikand vevra shutivatnitam. So, the words of the pure devotees, they carry the aroma of the lotus feet of the Lord, and through the Vedic sound vibration, it enters through our ears. And when it enters our heart, the lotus feet of the Lord enters the heart, and we are never separate from the lotus feet of the Lord. So, this was the prayer. Now, 6. Please read translation purport.
O my Lord, the people of the world are embarrassed by all material anxieties. They are always afraid. They always try to protect wealth, body, and friends. They are filled with lamentation and unlawful and paraphernalia, and they avariciously base their undertakings on the perishable conceptions of my and mine. As long as they do not take shelter of your safe lotus feet, they are full of such anxieties. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. One may question how one can always think of the Lord in regard to his name, fame, quality, etc. If one is embarrassed by thoughts of family affairs. Everyone in the material world is full of thoughts about how to maintain his family, how to protect his wealth, how to keep pace with friends and relatives, etc. Thus, he is always in fear and lamentation, trying to keep up with the status quo. In answer to this question, this verse spoken by Brahma is very appropriate. A pure devotee of the Lord never thinks of himself as the proprietor of his home. He surrenders everything unto the supreme control of the Lord, and thus he has no fear for maintaining his family or protecting the interest of his family. Because of this surrender, he no longer has any attraction for wealth. Even if there is attraction for wealth, it is not for sense enjoyment, but for the service of the Lord. A pure devotee may be attracted to accumulating wealth just like an ordinary man, but the difference is that a devotee acquires money for the service of the Lord, whereas the ordinary man acquires money for his sense enjoyment. Thus, the acquisition of wealth by a devotee is not a source of anxieties, as is the case for a worldly man. And because a pure devotee accepts everything in the sense of serving the Lord, the poisonous teeth of accumulation of wealth are extracted. If a snake has its poison removed and bites a man, there is no fatal effect. Similarly, wealth accumulated in the cause of the Lord has no poisonous teeth, and the effect is not fatal. A pure devotee is never entangled in material worldly affairs, even though he may remain in the world like an ordinary man.
Thank you. So, Lord Brahma talks about how people embrace different anxieties, just trying to protect their wealth, friends, family members. So, is there any flaw in that? Flaw is given here. Flaw is in the conception of my and mine. So, the problem is that this body is temporary. And everything belonging to this body is also temporary, it is perishable, including wealth, friends, relatives, everyone. And that's why all these things which are connected to temporary are the cause of lamentation. But anything which is based on truth, what is the truth? I am eternal, Krishna is eternal, and my relationship with Krishna is eternal, and everything around me, including my friends, relatives, wealth, etc., all of them are energies of Krishna and they're supposed to be used in the service of Krishna. So if we are centered around this truth, that everything belongs to Krishna and everything has to be used for Krishna's service, then it is not called material, it is called spiritual. And the benefits of dealing with all those things is spiritual, although they in themselves may be temporary. Like for example, accumulation of wealth. Prabhupada gives the example of accumulation of wealth. So accumulation of wealth with a desire to do sense gratification will degrade a person. But to the degree one enjoys sense gratification, to that degree one will be entangled in this world. But when the wealth is used for Krishna service, such wealth is not entangling, it is liberating. Similarly, relationship with our family members. So that's very entangling if it is based on sense gratification alone. But when family members come together and cooperate with each other in order to serve the Lord, then such a relationship is considered spiritual and it is used for betterment of the spiritual life. Like many devotees, I have had preached to youth for almost more than a decade. So one phenomenon which we found is that the toughest time for any youth is the time when they get a job and they are not settled in either of the ashram, either brahmacharya ashram or grihastha ashram. So when they are not settled in either of the ashrams, then you have to, especially if you are not in a ashram of devotees, you are somewhere far off. You have to do your cooking, cleaning, this, that, so many things, and then after that one has to take care of the job also. So practice of Krishna consciousness becomes very difficult. At the same time, but in case one is settled either in brahmacharya ashram or grihastha ashram, and the family members are supportive to Krishna consciousness, then all the services can be done very wonderfully. So then that relationship is not degrading, that relationship is elevating. That relationship is elevating. So the problem is with the misconception of I and mine. And in case, even if there is anxiety when we relate and we will deal with matter, actually whenever we deal with matter or we deal with relationships, there is an anxiety. Like Prabhupada used to take so much anxiety to see whether all the centers are running properly or not. So much anxiety. Similarly, as soon as one relates with people, there is anxiety. But if it is centered around Krishna, such anxiety is spiritual anxiety, it is no more material anxiety. So the whole problem is the bodily conception of life. And bodily conception of life means I am this body and I will enjoy through the senses. So this is a trouble. Somebody would like to read text 7?
O my Lord, persons who are bereft of all auspicious performance of chanting and hearing about your transcendental activities are certainly unfortunate and are also bereft of good sense. They engage in inauspicious activities, enjoying sense gratification for a very little while. Purport. The next question is why people are against such auspicious activities as chanting and hearing the glories and pastimes of the Lord, which can bring total freedom from the cares and anxieties of material existence. The only answer to this question is that they are unfortunate because of supernatural control due to their offensive activities performed simply for the sake of sense gratification. The Lord's pure devotee, however, take compassion upon such unfortunate persons and, in a missionary spirit, try to persuade them into the line of devotional service. Only by the grace of pure devotees can such unfortunate men be elevated to the position of transcendental service.
Thank you. So Brahma ji is specifically condemning the people who are averse to chanting and hearing about the Naam, Roop, Good Leela of the Lord, name, fame, qualities, passions of the Lord. So the most powerful way of remaining aloof to this world is Sravanam Kirtanam. So that is the most powerful way. Because Sravanam and Kirtanam leads to Smaranam. So that's why for most of us, it may not be possible to always engage in the DT service or take a bead bag and chant all the time, because we have some other services also. So hand is engaged. But Sravanam Kirtanam can always happen 24 hours a day. We can sing about some kirtans, keep on hearing some Krishna Katha. So in this way, through Harinam and Harikatha, especially hearing and chanting about it, one can be totally engaged in devotion service all the time. So those who are averse to chanting and hearing, Brahmaji says their lives are very miserable. So such people, they are totally engaged to sense gratification and they are going to degrade as the time passes. Okay. And Topaz writes, people offending because of sense gratification, because ultimately either we have gross desire for sense gratification or subtle desire for sense gratification. That time we ignore spiritual things and prefer material things. Like for example, when we see devotees as material and we want to have material dealings, we want to do things materially, that time we commit first offense. When we want to treat with Krishna and his incarnations as someone material or having material position like demigods, then we commit the second offense. When we want to see spiritual master as material, then we commit the third offense against the holy names. So in this way, all the 10 offenses against the holy names are when we see spiritual as material. And that happens because of strong desire for sense gratification. So such a thing is called offensive. Okay, so now 8th one. So you can repeat after me.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Jai Krishna Prabhu.
Prabhuji, is the 7th verse in the purport Prabhupada write on the next question that why they are unfortunate. It's written that unfortunate because supernatural control due to their offensive activity. So supernatural control means they are under control of the,
Laws of
the
nature. Yes, laws of nature, yes.
Laws
See,
of
main thing, as soon as we commit an offense, it's not that I'll keep on committing offense, nothing will happen. There is someone above us. Karmana Deva Netrena. So there is Dev, there are supernatural powers which are controlling us. As soon as we commit offenses, for the sake of sense gratification, we get the result also. The result is our mind becomes more materialistic and we go away from Krishna. So that's what Prabhupada is talking about supernatural. Supernatural means not that we are independent to everything. For every action, there are some supernatural powers which will give result accordingly.
What happens when we commit offenses in the sadhaka stage? So we are not yet like pure devotees. We're like sadhak. So what happens in those?
That our appreciation for something spiritual goes away. For example, if we are offending, are you hearing me? Yes. So let us say if somebody is offending devotees. So what happens is when one offends devotees, offending devotees means one sees devotee association as material. And that happens practically speaking for everyone, including me also. So what happens is when we are very close to the devotees, where a lot of services are done, we start seeing devotees managerially. oh, he's doing this right, he's doing that wrong, he's doing politics and he's doing this and that, then what happens is, because we are seeing devotees materially, our appreciation for devotees reduces. And when appreciation for devotees reduces, then what happens? Then we want to keep a distance from devotees. Rather, Jiva Goswami says if somebody is too offensive to devotees, he feels that this association of devotees is not qualified to have an enlightened personality like me. So let me go out of the association of devotees. So person becomes very proud. So that is the problem. The problem is that appreciation goes away. And that's why when we associate with devotees, actually speaking, the best thing to do is have nice Shravan Kirtana with them. The proportion of Shravan Kirtan should always be greater than managerial services. Because managerial services means we are bound to have a material outlook. Unless until like now we are very elevated, where Prabhupada would see everybody as part and parcel of Krishna. So when we see things, people materially, then the offenses comes. So that is why the culture which we should promote in our life is, whenever you meet devotees, have Harikatha. Have Harikatha. So when we have Harikatha, Harikatha brings bliss between the devotees, and whenever that bliss is the center, the appreciation for devotees remains. Otherwise, what happens is the appreciation for devotees goes up.
So, Prabhuji, like we sometimes have devotees friends which are like very close friends. Sometimes we start dealing, talking about material things also, like how is your job, what's happening, did you buy a new house, a new car? These kind of things also sometimes come up. So we should not engage in these things, right? In general, these things should not be discussed at all.
Actually, we can discuss about these things because it's like these things are also supportive to Krishna consciousness, but the content should be nicely balanced with discussion of Harikatha. So discussion of Harikatha should be like a stronger part, and these things may be like maybe 25%, 30%. But generally what happens is, many times Harikatha part becomes zero only.
Yes.
The entire discussion is about everything else apart from Harikatha. So then after some time we start forgetting that even these are devotees. We may say, ha Prabhu, Hare Krishna, Pranam, this, that. But then, Prabhu, why did you do like that? Prabhu, that Prabhu is political. So then we start seeing things very materially. So best thing to do is discuss Harikatha.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Prabhuji, it's relevant to the discussion, so I thought I'll bring this up. So I'm in Mayapur, and we hear so many things about leaders, and there are some people who have done some really not so nice things higher up in the management, and we hear so many other things. But these are not people with whom you can engage in Harikatha or chanting and all that. They're really very senior devotees. So in that situation, one thing that we are doing is we try to stay away from any kind of managerial activities. We don't want to engage in any kind of managerial stuff because we have heard so many things about it, right? So just like a simple devotee, go to the temple, go for Mangal Aarti, go there and come back, and that's it. Just stay away. But it's kind of like that situation where you said that when you start seeing too many offenses in devotees, or you start seeing them in material light, basically what happens is you see all these issues and everything, and then you start thinking, oh, you know what, maybe it's better if I stay away because I have this offensive mentality if I continue to stay in this association. But at the same time, I need the association. I need association of devotees to continue to make progress in devotional service. So how do we? It's like it's a lose-lose situation, right? Either way, I lose. If I continue to stay, and if I have an offensive mentality, I'm going to lose. If I move away and I don't have devotee association, again I'm going to lose, right? So you gave an answer, but that is applicable for certain group of devotees, right? Devotees who are at your level, and But what about devotees who are higher up? How do we address those kind of things?
Yeah, so see, when we say high or low, it's not managerial position, has nothing to do with Krishna consciousness. It has no connection with Krishna consciousness. It's just a material hierarchy within the SCON system. So who's elevated devotee? Elevated devotee is one who has more taste for Harikatha, Harinam. He's an elevated devotee. Not just because somebody is in a higher position of management, somebody is like a GBC, this, that, it becomes. Now, I'm not saying that GBC are not elevated, but we don't judge the advancement of a person by just by seeing whether he's a temple or GBC.
Prabhuji, your audio is gone.
Audio is gone for everyone, or
Yes,
Prabhuji,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji,
am I
we
audible?
did not hear from last 2 minutes.
Okay. So what I'll do, I'll connect to another network. Just a minute. Am I audible now?
Yes,
Yes,
Prabhuji.
Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So I'll answer it again. That when we say somebody high or low, it's not from a managerial perspective. It's more from a perspective of advancement in Krishna consciousness. And how do we judge advancement in Krishna consciousness? That is how much a person is having taste from Sravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smarana. So like we had, if you remember in NOD, the symptoms of bhava are given. Priti vasati sthale, nam gani sataruchi. So Shanti. So all these qualities, they are the best demarcation of who's elevated, who's not elevated. Now for us, we need a son of devotees. At the same time, if we see them materially, then we are disturbed also. So we have to understand that dealing with devotees is like dealing with fire. We need fire to cook. If you don't cook, you will die. At the same time, we have to be careful not to just go and embrace fire, then we will be burnt also. So that's why we should be very careful. So that is the art of dealing with devotees. If we learn the art of dealing with devotees, so that we don't see offensively, at the same time we utilize the asana of devotees for Saranam Kirtanam, that is the best way of dealing with devotees. And here also we are having asana of devotees. Are you not having now like a relationship with Jayadev Prabhu, Jay Keshav Prabhu and Vatidhar Prabhu? Because you are doing Saranam Kirtan together for so many months and maybe more than a year or so. I don't know when the course started. But since long time you have. Yes. So that is also association. Even my own experience with the devotees is there are certain devotees. I never had same managerial opinion with them. It's like we were always like this. So he would say west, then I would say east. And we worked together quite a good amount of time till things became intolerable. So that's like we had a different project, different preaching projects were there. But still we realized the times when we would discuss Krishna Katha. So one good thing was that whenever we would have Krishna Katha, sometimes we would begin at 6 o'clock and end up at 12 o'clock. Till night 12 o'clock, now we would be just discussing Krishna Katha. So like we had one time discussion of whether Krishna knows our past, present, and future. And so many arguments were that then we ended at 12 o'clock with no conclusion. And till we went to a senior devotee, and actually that time I was right. My opinion was the right opinion. But so we still relish those times. So within relationship also what we found is my subtle body may not match with the subtle body of another devotee. But spiritually, we have a common center, that is pleasing Krishna. So the bliss of Harikirtha and Harinam makes the relationship very realisable. But managerial issues will always create trouble. That will always create trouble. So those who are very expert devotees, they know how to deal with devotees, keep Harikatha and Harinam center, at the same time deal with everything. So I would say like one of the persons whom I saw is Janmashtami Prabhu. Like you may be knowing Janmashtami Prabhu, right? So Janmashtami Prabhu is the one who started our Mayapur Institute. But because he started Mayapur Institute, so he was giving Bhakti Sastri, Bhakti Vaibhava, but he never attended Bhakti Sastri. So he was attending my Bhakti Sastri. And he's like a founder Acharya of Mayapur Institute. And I was just maybe that time giving classes for 3-4 years only. I just started giving for MI for 3-4 years. So pretty new as compared to him. So he wanted to train me in different ways. But such a person, he would do it so humbly that it's his correction would win my heart. Whenever there are issues, it's certain we would have some debates in Bhakti Sastri. So then sometimes the temperature would be very high. Devotees would be really roaring at each other. And he was the person who would take the blame. He would say, maybe because I spoke like that, that's why devotees are fighting, and please forgive me. And if it is creating disturbance for everyone, I take back my words. And that would cool down all the situation. So I know certain devotees are super expert, and they can deal with management at the same time, not be offensive. So we have to judge our own level. So if we can progress in spiritual life through a son of devotees, we should do that. And if it is creating trouble for us, making us more offensive, then we have to be careful. So I hope I'm able to answer the question.
Yes, Prabhuji. So my question was specifically with regard to people in the upper management with whom, there is no direct dealings, right? Like, for example, people in the GDC or, upper in the management of the temple and, different places within the temple. There are many people. But so what happens is that we read about them, about certain other people who have gone from there and, they did all kinds of not so nice things. And, I'm talking about that kind of thing. And then how do we kind of deal with those people? So those are people. So when I said senior, I meant senior in the sense that they are not people. So if I go to the temple today, like let's say tomorrow morning I go for Mangal Aarti, I'm not going to see them for Mangal Aarti. They have so many other services that many of them don't even come for Mangal Aarti and those programs. So there is no way that I can do Hari Katha and all those things directly with them. But at the same time, I might read about them. There are so many forums and WhatsApp groups and all that. So we might read something about them and this and all that. So what's happening is there is one input we are getting, and maybe that input is incomplete. Maybe it's not a full picture and a lot of things. But so we see that, but we are not doing direct bhakti. So this is in regard to what you said, that in our relationships, you should try to spend most of the time in Hari Katha and all that, right? Now I'm saying of a particular situation where I can't do that.
Yeah, I understood the question. So in those situations, best thing is that follow the footsteps of Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So what would Raghunath Bhatta Goswami do? Anybody would come and tell about this devotee, that devotee, and then he would tell that just the very fact this person is chanting Hare Krishna, so even if he has certain faults, they will go away in due course of time. So that is how we have to train our mind usually. To the degree, it's we hear the blasphemy, and that may not be complete also. I personally know about some devotees in Mayapur also. Many devotees propagate a lot of wrong things about them, but they have a very positive other part which was never promoted. So if you see that part, then this particular dark spot may look very, very small. It's like little dark spots on the moon doesn't diminish the way moon enlightens everyone through its rays. So that's why many times what happens is we just see the negative part, we don't see the positive part. But if we see both the parts, then we may be very appreciative also. That's the best thing is when we are not Paramatmas, we know everything about everyone. So then better to hear only those things which are essential. So what are the essential things? If somebody is under me, and for management purpose, I have to deal with someone very often, then let us hear about that person. If it is not there, leave it. There are millions of things to do, so many rounds to be chanted, so many books to be read, so many services to be done. So why do unnecessarily waste our time in all these things?
Prabhuji, but what about responsibility as a grihastha, in the sense that I have 3 daughters? So from that perspective, there are certain matters that it's better if I'm aware of certain things, right?
See, being aware is one thing. At the same, that's why I'm saying something which is concerned with your service, you should do. But something which are not concerned with service, we should not do. Like for example, now if I want to train my children, then I have to see whether the person who is training is proper or not, and I may examine different trainers. So someone who is not a good trainer, I have doubt on him, then I may do a research and this and that and find out and better avoid the catastrophe which may come. But if it is not there, then why to worry? So something which are concerned with us, we should do. Something which are not concerned, we should not do.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So we should not be irresponsible. At the same time, we should not take unnecessary responsibilities also. Unnecessary responsibility means some devotee take responsibility of purifying the whole world. So then they find mistakes with everyone. Hey, he should do like this, he should do like that, he should do like that, he should do like that. And what is your service? My service should tell what everyone should do. So that is not beneficial. That is just a wastage of time. So I hope I'm able to answer the question.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay. So tridhatubir imamur ardhamanah.
Tridha tubhir ima muhur ardhyamanah.
Sitoshnavat varasir itiretaracha.
Shitoshnavatavara
Kamagnina chutarusa cha sudurbarena.
Kamagnina chutarushacha
Sudurbarena.
Sampasyato mana uru krama sidate me.
Sampasyato mana uru krama sidate me.
Please read the translation and the purport.
O great actor, my lord, all these poor creatures are constantly perplexed by hunger, thirst, severe cold, secretion, and bile, attacked by coughing winter, blasting summer, rains, and many other disturbing elements, and overwhelmed by strong sex urges and indefatigable anger. I take pity on them, and I am very much aggrieved for them. Purport. A pure devotee of the Lord, like Brahma and person in his disciplic successions, are always unhappy to see the perplexities of the conditioned souls, who are suffering the onslaughts of the threefold miseries which pertains to the body and mind, to the disturbance of material nature, and to many other such material disadvantages. Not knowing adequate measures for relieving such difficulties, suffering persons sometimes pose themselves as leaders of the people, and the unfortunate followers are put into further disadvantages under such so-called leadership. This is like a blind man's leading another blind man to fall into a ditch. Therefore, unless the devotee of the Lord take pity on them and teach them the right path, their lives are hopeless failures. The devotees of the Lord who voluntarily take the responsibility of raising the foolish, materialistic sense enjoyers are as confidential to the Lord as Lord Gomba.
Yeah, thank you. Hari Hari. So now in this particular verse, Lord Brahma is taking pity by the people who are so much perplexed. That means all of us. So he's taking pity on all of us. And Prabhupada glorifies the pure devotees like Lord Brahma and his followers, those who take pity on such people and find a solution. But for people who have just pity, but they don't have understanding of how to relieve people from such terrible situation. So then Prabhupada said they're like blind men leading other blind men and all fall into ditch. Anda yathara indera pugiyamanas tyapis tantra amurudamne vadda. Because actually speaking, there are solutions at various levels. So there is some immediate relief, some remote relief, and then there is some permanent relief. And pure devotees of the Lord, they give permanent relief. They may not be very expert in giving immediate relief or temporary relief. So that's why the contribution of pure devotees is the highest. Like for example, if I have some disease, so then the immediate relief is that I may take some medicine. But then there may be some remote cause also. My body has certain balance of kapha or pitta, because of which I am falling sick again and again. Like for example, people those who have high pitta, generally they become victim of dengue and malaria again and again. Or those who have very lot of heat in the body, they become victims of loose motions and other diseases. Basically, the disease below the navel. So they become terribly affected by them. So then the remote relief may be you take some permanent Ayurvedic medicines for a long time. That will balance your kapha pitta, and then lifestyle is also changed and we may get some relief. But that doesn't mean that diseases will never come again. If not in this body, then they may come again in next body. So the permanent relief is that we develop Krishna prema and go back to God. So to the degree we have bodily consciousness, we are going to suffer. That is why there may be contributions on different levels by different people. But those who don't know the permanent solution, they are called blind. Now they may be relatively blind, but still they are blind. But they can't give permanent relief. Now somebody can read 9th and 10th translation.
Oh my Lord, the material miseries are without factual existence for the soul. Yet, as long as the conditioned soul sees the body as meant for sense enjoyment, he cannot get out of the entanglement of material miseries, being influenced by your external energy. Such non-devotees engage their senses in very troublesome and expensive work, and they suffer insomnia at night because their intelligence constantly breaks their sleep with various mental speculations. They are frustrated in all their various plans by supernatural power. Even great sages, if they are against your transcendental topics, must rotate in this material world.
In the last line, Brahma is talking more about those who are offensive to the Lord. That means there may be some demigod worshippers of Brahmavadis and this and that, and they may be against devotional service. So they may be great Mayavadis or great sannyasis holding danda and this and that. But if they are averse to the topics of the top Lord, they have to rotate in this world. And in the 9th and the beginning of 10th verse translation, the miseries of a person who is convinced that I am this body and this body is meant for sense gratification, their miseries are spoken. So to the degree we see this body as an object for sense enjoyment, to that degree will be attached to the body. And to the degree we are attached to the body, to that degree we will also suffer the miseries because of the body. So Prahlad Maharaj in 7th canto speaks a very beautiful verse. Kutrasi sasruti sukha mrigatrish nirupa kedam kalevaramase serojam viroha virvidyate natujano yade piti vidyam kamanalam madulave samayundarape. So it's a big verse and big translation. We'll just take a part of it. So he says, Kvedam kalevaram asesara jamiroha. That this body itself is cause of so many miseries. So trying to enjoy from this body will 100% give us misery. Because this body is filled with misery. It is like trying to eat gulab jamun with a spoon which is red hot. So the spoon is red hot. We may enjoy gulab jamun by taking the gulab jamun in our mouth through that red hot spoon. But spoon itself is cause of misery. As soon as you touch spoon, one will get misery. So that's why this body is not a very good instrument to enjoy sense gratification or give us happiness. Because it is meant to give us so many miseries. So that is the prime cause. And when that is the prime cause, no question of being happy or sense gratification. And this another one, these are beautiful verses actually. So worth memorizing. I have memorized almost the verses I'm showing. What is?
Sorry, what is that Prahlad Maharaj prayers, that verse is?
So if you tell me to find out, it will take some time. But
Okay,
I'll just
no
tell
problem.
I'll tell the beginning lines.
What is the first line? You tell.
Kutra sisa shruti sukha. Just
Okay.
put Kutra sisa shruti sukha. Mrigatrishni rupa. And then this is the beautiful verse. Tam bhakti yoga paribhavit hit saroja.
Om Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita Hritta Saroja.
Ase srute chit patho nanunath pumsa.
Ase shrute kshita patho nanunat pumsam.
Yadyadhyata urgaya vibhavayanti.
Yadyadhriyata urugaya vibhavayanti.
Tad pranayase tadanugrahaya.
Tattvapu pranayase tad anugrahaya.
Please read the translation and the purport.
Hare Krishna translation. O my Lord, your devotees can see you through the ears by the process of bona fide hearing, and thus their hearts become cleansed, and you take your seat there. You are so merciful to your devotees that you manifest yourself in the particular eternal form of transcendence in which they always think of you. Purport by Srila Prabhupada, Jai Srila Prabhupada. The statement here that the Lord manifests himself before the devotee in the form of which the devotee likes to worship him indicates that the Lord becomes subordinate to the desire of the devotee. So much so that he manifests his particular form as the devotee demands. This demand of the devotee is satisfied by the Lord because he is pliable in terms of the transcendental loving service of the devotee. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 4.11. Yetamam prapadyante tam sataiva bhajamyaham. We should note, however, that the Lord is never the order supplier of the devotee. Here in this verse, it is particularly mentioned, Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavitha. This indicates the efficiency achieved through execution of mature devotional service or prema, love of Godhead. This state of prema is achieved by the gradual process of development from faith to love. On faith, one associates with bona fide devotees, and by such association, one can become engaged in bona fide devotional service, which includes proper initiation and the execution of the primary devotional duties prescribed in the revealed scriptures. This is clearly indicated herein by the word Shrutikshita. The Shrutikshita path is to hear from bona fide devotees who are conversant with Vedic wisdom, free from mundane sentiment. By this bona fide hearing process, the neophyte devotee becomes cleansed of all material rubbish, and thus he becomes attached to one of the many transcendental forms of the Lord as described in the Vedas. This attachment of the devotee to a particular form of the Lord is due to natural inclination. Each and every living entity is originally attached to a particular type of transcendental service because he is eternally the servitor of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya says that the living entity is eternally a servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Therefore, every living entity has a particular type of service relationship with the Lord eternally. This particular attachment is invoked by practice of regulative devotional service to the Lord, and thus the devotee becomes attached to the eternal form of the Lord, exactly like one who is already eternally attached. This attachment for a particular form of the Lord is called Swarupa Siddhi. The Lord sits on the lotus heart of the devotee in the eternal form the pure devotee desires, and thus the devotee does not part from the devotee. The Lord does not part from the devotee, as confirmed in the previous verse. The Lord, however, does not disclose himself to a casual or unauthentic worshipper to be exploited. This is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 7.25. Naham prakashah sarvasya yogamaya samavratah. Rather, by yogamaya, the Lord remains concealed to the non-devotees or casual devotees who are serving their sense gratification. The Lord is never visible to the pseudo-devotees who worship the demigods in charge of universal affairs. The conclusion is that the Lord cannot become the order supplier of a pseudo-devotee, but he is always prepared to respond to the desire of a pure, unconditional devotee who is free from all tinges of material infection.
Thank you. So a beautiful verse. Ye tu tadiye charanambuja kosavangam jigranti kanda vivara srutivata So srutivata that is explained here. Sruti. Okay, sorry. Tam bhakti yoga paribhavit hai saroja ase srutekshit patho. Sruta ikshit. Ikshit means seeing. Srut means ears. So for a devotee, his ears become like eyes. And by that eyes, what does he see? He sees the lotus feet of the Lord. So this particular Harikatha, when it enters in the heart, so then one is able to see the lotus feet of the Lord. And then Lord's lotus feet make a permanent place within the heart of the devotee. And what is the result of that? The result is that whatever form one hears about, one becomes attached to that form and Lord appears in that form. Now that doesn't mean it's like an imagination. These are bona fide forms of the Lord. So like we have the famous example of a devotee who heard about the Lord and became very attracted to the form of the Lord, so much so that he was not able to think about any other form. So just by hearing, he didn't even see. So you know the example of such a devotee from Bhagavatam? Rukmini. So Rukmini is the one who just heard about Krishna and she fell in love with Krishna. Sritva bhavana sundar sanvatam te nirvishta karnve vare hartonge tapam rupam tisam tusimatam akilartha bhavam tai achita vasati chittam apatram pamme. So this verse says, yes, Sritva bhavana sundar sanvatam te. As soon as I heard about your beauty, which is the greatest beauty in the entire universe. So then what happened is, because of that, I desired to associate with you. Rupam Drisam Drisi Matam. So there can't I could see that beauty which is unparalleled to any beauty in the world. So Nirvishta Karnavavre Hartungata Rupam Drisam Drisi Matam. So there is nothing much more worth seeing than the form of Krishna. So how did Rukmini become attracted to this form and could see that how Krishna's form is the best form in the world? That is by hearing from Narad Muni. Because Narad Muni would regularly attend, or he would enter in the Sabha of Bhishmak, Maharaj Bhishmak, and describe Krishna's beauty there. Just by hearing about Krishna from Narad Muni, she became so attached to Krishna that she thought, only Krishna can be my husband, no one else. And also this verse also speaks about this particular verse, about Yeda Diya Turva Vivahim Tattat Vapu Pranay Se Sadanubhraya. So that's how Nam, Roop, Good, Leela, they manifest from Nam only. So sound vibration of the Lord is not different from the Lord. So this sound vibration itself would manifest the form. Nam se Roop. From name comes form. And then this particular Harikatha only, or Harinam, would manifest the Leela. Good. Good means qualities of the Lord. And then Leela of the Lord. So just by hearing, this sound vibration will manifest everything about the Lord. Because it is not different from Krishna. Yes. Somebody would like to read the next translation and the purport?
My Lord,
Okay, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. My Lord, you are not very much satisfied by the worship of the demigods, who arrange for your worship very pompously with various paraphernalia, but who are full of material hankerings. You are situated in everyone's heart as a super soul just to show your causeless mercy, and you are the eternal well-wisher, but you are unavailable for the non-devotee. Purport Bhakti is A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki. The demigods in the celestial heavenly planets who are appointed administrators of the material affairs are also devotees of the Lord, but at the same time they have desires for material opulence and sense gratification. The Lord is so kind that he awards them all sorts of material happiness more than they can desire, but he is not satisfied with them because they are not pure devotees. The Lord does not want any of his innumerable sons, the living entities, to remain in the material world for threefold miseries, to perpetually suffer the material pangs of birth, death, old age, and disease. The demigods in the heavenly planets and many devotees on this planet also want to remain in the material world as devotees of the Lord and take advantage of material happiness. They do so at a risk of falling down to the lower status of existence, and this makes the Lord dissatisfied with them. Pure devotees are not desirous of any material enjoyment, nor are they averse to it. They completely dovetail their desires with the desires of the Lord and perform nothing on their personal account. Arjuna is a good example. On his own sentiment, due to family affection, Arjuna did not want to fight. But finally, after hearing Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he agreed to fight in the interest of the Lord. Therefore, the Lord is very much satisfied with pure devotees because they do not act for sense gratification, but only in terms of the Lord's desire. As Paramatma, Super Soul, he is situated in everyone's heart, always giving everyone the chance of good counsel. Thus, everyone should take the opportunity and render transcendental loving service to him wholly and solely. The non-devotees, however, are neither like the demigods nor like the pure devotees, but are averse to the transcendental relationship with the Lord. They have revolted against the Lord and must perpetually undergo the reaction of their own activities. Bhagavad Gita 4:11 states, Ye yada mam prabhadyante tams tataiva bhajami aham. Although the Lord is equally kind to every living being, the living beings for their own part are able to please the Lord to either a greater or lesser extent. The demigods are called sakama devotees or devotees with material desires in mind, while the pure devotees are called nishkama devotees because they have no desires for their personal interests. The sakama devotees are self-interested because they do not think of others and therefore They are not able to satisfy the Lord perfectly, whereas the pure devotees takes the missionary responsibility of turning non-devotees into devotees, and they are therefore able to satisfy the Lord more than the demigods. The Lord is unmindful of the non-devotees, although he is sitting within everyone's heart as Lord Vishnu and Supersoul. However, he also gives them the chance to receive his mercy through his pure devotees who are engaged in missionary activities. Sometimes the Lord himself descends for missionary activities as he did in the form of Lord Chaitanya. But mostly he sends his bona fide representatives, and thus he shows his causeless mercy towards the non-devotees. The Lord is so satisfied with pure devotees that he wants to give them the credit for missionary success, although he do the work personally. This is a sign of his satisfaction with his pure Niskama devotees compared to the Sakama devotees. But such transcendental activities, the Lord simultaneously becomes free from the charge of partiality and exhibits his pleasure with the devotees. Now a question arises. If the Lord is sitting in the hearts of non-devotees, why are they not moved to become devotees? It may be answered that the stubborn non-devotees are like the barren land or alkaline field where no agricultural activities can be successful. As part and parcel of the Lord, every individual living entity has a minute quantity of independence and a minute quantity of independence, and by misuse of this minute independence, the non-devotees commit offense after offense to both the Lord and his pure devotees engaged in missionary work. As a result of such acts, they become as barren as an alkaline field where there is no strength to produce. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hari Hari. So you'll find that Brahmaji is condemning the position of demigods. So what is he saying? He's saying, no, demigods, they may perform pompous worship of the Lord, but Lord is not satisfied with his pompous worship. And the reason is, ultimately everything belongs to Krishna only. So what is Krishna satisfied with? Krishna is satisfied with the genuine love. So whenever there is genuine love, Krishna is satisfied with that. And Prabhupada writes that now sometimes it might happen that demigods may be more fortunate than other devotees in the sense that they may be getting even the audience of the Lord. Like sometimes Indra gets audience of the Lord, Brahma gets audience of the Lord. And whereas we may find that some pure devotees may not be getting the audience of the Lord. Pure devotees are very elevated devotees. So then are they more fortunate? No, they are not fortunate. They are not fortunate because one can actually see the Lord only through the process of bhakti. Premanjana chrita bhakti vilochanena santa sadaiva hridayeshu vilokyanti. So, Premanjana, only when one looks at the Lord with the mascara of love, only then one can see the Lord. Otherwise, it is not possible to see the Lord. Prabhupada gives the example of alkaline field. So Duryodhana also saw the Lord. Sakuni also saw the Lord. So many demons saw the Lord. But then they didn't feel such an attraction for the Lord. Or even if they felt attraction for the Lord, their envy for the Lord overpowered. Why? Because they had no bhakti. So ultimately it is pure devotion service only through which one can really appreciate and associate with the Lord. So Vrajavasis, when they were away from Krishna, still they were with Krishna more than anyone else who was with Krishna. So that is what Krishna wanted to show by the example of Vrajavasis by leaving Vrindavan. So the most important thing is bhakti. So demigods, they can be called as, some of the demigods may be pure devotees also, but many of them are karma misra bhaktas. So karma misra bhaktas may be performing bhakti, but then to the degree they have this mixture of karma. Karma means desire for sense gratification. And they approach the Lord for sense gratification. To that degree, they cannot realize Krishna consciousness. Now we were talking about association of devotees, and devotees were asking a lot of questions. So we may find within our own personal life also that if we just depend on a desire to please Krishna, then nobody can take away our happiness. For example, like now, if I'm just happy that I'm getting an opportunity to serve Krishna, and I'm getting an opportunity to help others connect to Krishna, then I won't be troubled if my follower or my person who's very connected to me goes to someone else. You'll find there's a big fight between sometimes fun devotees. Oh, my man, you have taken my man here and there. Or we won't be affected if we were temple president and we are removed and someone else becomes temple president. Why? Because we are just happy serving. So whether we are getting an opportunity to broom the floor of the temple or we are getting to manage the temple, ultimately it is same service. Krishna is pleased. So for us also, to the degree we have attachment to post, position, followers, etc., to that degree we will be suffering even while performing Krishna consciousness. But if you are just happy serving Krishna, to the degree our motive is pure, to that degree we will not be paid. So that is how Bhakti is very blissful. 13th translation.
But the pious activities of the people, such as performance of Vedic rituals, charity, austere penances, and transcendental service performed with a view to worship you and satisfy you by offering you the fruitive results, are also beneficial. Such acts of religion never go in vain. Harish.
But the pious activity of people that perform Vedic ritual, charity, austerity, penance, and transcendental performed with a view to worship you and satisfy you will never go in vain. So anything done to please Krishna is beneficial. But anything which is not centered around pleasing Krishna, it is not beneficial. Because it will give just temporary results which will go away in due course of time. So that is how, like, reading useless books, which may increase our desire to enjoy sense gratification. So if they are done lawfully, they may be a part of dharma. If they are done unlawfully, that may be part of sin. The books which relate to we are not body, we are soul, they come in the Gyan Marg. But same books like Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam, when they're centered around pleasing Krishna, Bhakti scriptures, that becomes pure devotion service. So anything centered around Krishna becomes pure devotion service. Brooming at different places may give different results. But if we broom the temple of the Lord, or we broom the house, and we know that it is temple of the Lord, then that is brooming in the temple, and it will give a spiritual result. So anything centered around Krishna doesn't go in vain; it gives spiritual result.
Guruji, one question here. How about, I understand that we as an institution, we don't give much emphasis on Manav Seva. We are mostly focusing on Krishna service by the logic that we are watering the root of the plant. But we also have certain these activities like distribution, prasadam distribution, and we also have some hospitals. So what is the purpose of these hospitals and all these things, Prabhuji?
Okay. Now let's first talk about prasadam distribution. Now prasadam distribution is not a material activity, it's a spiritual activity. Just to get a little bit of prasad Vimala Devi did so much of tapasya, and then she got a place in Jagannath temple. So distribution of prasad is not a material activity, spiritual activity. Anybody who accepts a little bit of prasadam, it will be the beginning of end of his material life. So that means no more birth, no more death. That is beginning of his spiritual life. So prasadam distribution is not material, it is spiritual. Similarly, we have to see the result of anybody is opening any hospital. So if somebody is opening a hospital and through that one is preaching Krishna consciousness, because people come in distress, and people who are in distress are the best candidate for accepting Krishna consciousness. So if somebody is preaching through that, then it's not material, it is spiritual. Or somebody is opening the hospital for devotees, that is Vaishnava Seva, then that is not called material, it is spiritual. So it's like now, it's not that now Ishwar Puri was only discussing Krishna Katha with Madhavan Puri. Ishwar Puri was even cleaning the stool of Madhavan Puri. And that because he was doing that Vapu Seva of cleaning the stool of Madhavan Puri, he happened to become such a great devotee that he became the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya. So that is how Vaishnava Seva is not material, it is spiritual. So those who think that these things are material, they are misguided. Yes, please.
And Guruji, there was a question by Vidura to Maitreya Rishi that what is the benefit of digging the wells? So is that answered in the future verses, or that is not answered? And if possible, can you share the result? I mean, what happens in that case?
See, somebody's, again, the intent is very important. That we'll discuss because there will be discussion of Bhakti in different modes. That will be discussed in Kapil Siksha. In Kapil Siksha, we'll discriminate between Karma Kanda, Karma Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Bhakti in mode of ignorance, passion, goodness, good devotional service. So all these things will be very elaborately discussed in the that portion, and that matrimony would clarify. But concisely, I would just tell is somebody is opening digging a well, the purpose has to be very clear. Now somebody is digging the well just because there's a liquor house nearby and you have to dilute the liquor if you want to take a peg. So then that social service is not a social service, it's like a ghastly karma, bad karma. Somebody is like digging a well so that people can enjoy nice sunshine gratification and their miseries are gone. So then that is a mode of passion. Or somebody may be digging a well thinking that, oh, my name will be written in the well. Such and such person has dug the well for the public welfare. So then ultimately the goal is to enjoy name. So that is a mode of passion. Now if king is digging a well because it is the responsibility of the government to provide the drinking water facility for everyone, then that is considered to be duty. That is a mode of goodness. Especially when it is done with a desire for no results in return. I'm a king, it's my duty. I'm a government person, so let me dig. But somebody digging a well near a temple so that the temple services are facilitated, then such digging a well is considered pure devotional service. So the intent of a person has to be understood. For what purpose is he doing? So it is Krishna Anusilya. Yes, bro.
One last supplementary question on this. Like Uttama Adhikaris don't differentiate between devotees and non-devotees. So they are like some darshina, they treat everyone equal. So will these personalities also do these kind of things, or they won't engage in these kind of things? I mean, they are like...
Okay. Now coming to Uttam Adhikari, we have to understand, it's not that Uttam Adhikari doesn't discriminate about everyone, anyone, and this and that. Uttam Adhikari sees everyone as a candidate fit for accepting Krishna consciousness. And we have to see that even if seemingly somebody may be externally doing some social service, what is the purpose behind it? Like for example, Ranti Dev. So Ranti Dev seemingly was just performing perfect social service in the sense that he was giving food and water to Chandala and the dogs and all these people. But then by performing all these things, you are feeling a greater connection to Lord Vishnu. That all these people are part and parcel of Lord Vishnu, and I'm getting an opportunity to serve all of them. Let me thank Lord Vishnu. So there are tears of love in his eyes, love of God in his eyes. And he was saying, I'm not crying because of not getting food and water for 40 days. I'm crying because I got an opportunity to serve those who are part and parcel of Krishna. So that's why it may be seemingly a social service, which may lead to punya, but intent is very important. That is the reason we should be very careful while judging anyone. So because the intent is very important. So intent between a person and that that is known only to Krishna and that devotee. Like for example, this what is his name? Pundrik Vidyanidhi. Pundrik Vidyanidhi would stay near Ganga but never touch Ganga. And you may say, is he a devotee or a non-devotee? But Pundrik Vidyanidhi, what to see of visiting Ganga, he won't like people going near Ganga. And the reason is people put their feet in Ganga and that would break his heart like anything. That this is Charnamrita of the Lord flowing through in the form of Ganga. How can people put their feet in Ganga? And what to see of seeing people washing clothes or doing any other thing using the Ganga water? So now Pundrik Vidyanidhi, he was not going near Ganga, and that was pure devotion service. So that is the reason it's better to not be very judgmental. It's like we can be objectively speaking about different principles, but judging a person by saying, oh, this fellow is doing social service, this person is doing this and that, such people end up in doing a lot of offenses. And I have personally seen with my own eyes so many devotees criticizing some senior devotees for opening hospital on this and that and leaving Krishna consciousness. Numberless devotees I've seen like that in last 20 years. So it's very dangerous. It's very dangerous. So principle can be spoken, but one should be very careful not to judge anyone. So that's dangerous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Jai Keshav.
Hare Krishna Bhauji. Bhauji, this verse I was thinking that it is explained that all these pious activities is performed with a view to worship you. That means the intent is clear that all these pious activities is in relation with the Lord. That and all the and the result will be offered to the lotus feet of the Lord. So 9.27 of Bhagavad Gita. So that's why it is. That's why all these kind of pious activities, the people who are doing these pious activities, they will slowly come into the devotional service.
See, even if somebody is seemingly doing a pious activity with a pleasing Krishna, it may be pure devotional service also. Like for example, gopis doing Katyani Puja. So of course, Vishnu Thakur said that they were doing a worship of Yog Maya. So then that was pure devotion service. Similarly, Pandavas worshipping, like Arjuna worshipping Lord Shiva to get Pasupati Astra. That is pure devotion service. Why? Because he is doing that to please Krishna. Krishna wanted Arjuna to go to different demigods and get all the weapons so that they can fight in the Mahabharata war. So he is following Krishna's instructions. That's pure devotion service. So whether Shiva was pleased with that or not, I'm not sure. But Krishna was very pleased by that. So that's the reason. It's like ultimately we have to see the intent. Is their intent to please Krishna? Or the intent is sense gratification. If intent is sense gratification, that is karma kanda. If intent is to please Krishna, that is pure devotion service. Simple. And if there is a mixed intent, it is a mixed devotion service.
So, Prabhuji, this pious activities, what is mentioned in this verse, this is the Bhakti Unmukhi Purna.
Yes. So in this verse, what is given is, whatever is given is, now again, when it is saying about satisfying Krishna, so satisfying Krishna in itself is not like a very clear word. Satisfying Krishna, because he is the provider of sense gratification, comes in the level of Karma Yoga. But when the purpose is only satisfying Krishna, and for that purpose we are doing different things, then that is pure devotion service. So again, we have to look into the intent very clearly. What is the goal, and with what intent it is done. So that's important. So I hope that answers your question, Yogesh. Thank you. Yes. Now somebody can read 14, 15, and 16th. So they are offering obeisances.
Let me offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Transcendence, who is eternally distinguished by his internal potency. His indistinguishable impersonal feature is realized by intelligence for self-realization. I offer obeisances unto him who, by his pastimes, enjoys the creation, maintenance, and dissolution of the cosmic manifestation. 15. Let me take shelter of the lotus feet of him whose incarnations, qualities, and activities are mysterious imitations of worldly affairs. One who invokes his transcendental names even unconsciously at the time he quits this life is certainly washed immediately of the sins of many, many births and attains him without fail. 16. Your lordship is the prime root of the tree of the planetary systems. This tree has grown by first penetrating the material nature in 3 trunks, as me, Shiva, and you, the Almighty, for creation, maintenance, and dissolution. And we 3 have grown with many branches. Therefore, I offer my obeisances unto you, the tree of the cosmic manifestation.
Thank you. So in verse number 14, Brahmaji offers prayers to the Lord, and he glorifies the impersonal feature of the Lord, that's Brahmadyuti. So that he offers obeisance to the Lord, who is the source of Brahmadyuti also. And he glorifies the Lord in the second line for his Paramatma feature. Because it's Paramatma, Lord participates in creation, maintenance, and dissolution. Mahavishnu breathes out, creation takes place. He breathes in, dissolution happens. In between, there is a maintenance. So this is the glorification of the Paramatma feature of the Lord. So initially there is Brahman feature glorification, then Paramatma feature glorification. And verse number 15 is a glorification of Bhagavan form of the Lord, who appears in different incarnations with different qualities and activities and looks like an ordinary man. Like in Bhishma Dev, he speaks prayers. In his prayers he speaks, Ese ve Bhagavan Sakshat Adyo Narayana Puman Mohan Maya Lokam Gunas Charati Vishnusu. So he tells Yudhishthira Maharaj, initially it gives various reasons. What is the cause of her misery? Strength? No. Pandavas are very strong. Bhima and Arjuna are very strong. Is it lack of dharma? No. Dharmaraj Yudhishthira is there. It cannot be cause. Then he says, maybe it is time factor. Time factor may be there. But then he says, no. It's not time factor. It is the person standing next to you. So person standing next to you, that Krishna is Adyo Narayan Puman. He is the Adi or origin of Narayan also. And Moha Sakti Vishnu. So he befools everyone by his Maya, and he's so complex that he roams like an ordinary human being among all the Vishnu Vamsis, among the Vishnus, Yadavas. But he is who? He is Adinarayan. So this is talking about the Bhagavan feature of the Lord. And then he talks about taking shelter of such a Bhagavan feature. Even somebody takes the holy name of the Lord unconsciously, then he is washed of all the sins. he delivered. So it is so powerful. And again, he comes back to his service. So he says, and from that Lord, 3 branches have come, 3 Gunavataras have come. Me, Shiva, and you. That is Garbhodaksha Vishnu, whose expansion is Kshirodaksha Vishnu. So Lord Brahma is the in charge for mode of passion, Shiva for ignorance, and Lord Vishnu for goodness. Kshirodaksha Vishnu is the in charge for maintenance, Brahma for creation, and Shiva for destruction. So these are the Gunavataras. So he's glorifying Gunavataras now. Now we can read 17, 18, 19.
People in general all engage in foolish acts, not in the really beneficial activities enunciated directly by you for their guidance. As long as their tendency for foolish work remains powerful, all their plans in the struggle for existence will be cut to pieces. I therefore offer my obeisances unto him who acts as eternal time. Your Lordship, I offer my full obeisances unto you who are indefatigable time and the enjoyer of all sacrifices. Although I am situated in an abode which will continue to exist for a time duration of 2 parardhas, although I am the leader of all other planets in the universe, and although I have undergone many, many years of penance for self-realization, still I offer my respects unto you. Page 19 also. O my Lord, by your own will, you appear in the various species of living entities, among animals lower than human beings, as well as among the demigods, to perform your transcendental pastimes. You are not affected by material contamination. You come just to fulfill the obligations of your own principles of religion, and therefore, O Supreme Personality, I offer my obeisances unto you for manifesting such different forms.
Thank you. So in verse number 17, Brahmaji, he condemns the people who don't accept the guidance of the Lord. So it's like a person who creates a washing machine, gives a manual of the washing machine and says that if you operate washing machine like this, then you will get benefit of washing machine. But somebody says, no, I have my own way of operating the washing machine. So he puts the plug and sits inside the washing machine with the clothes. What will happen? He will be only washed off rather than washing the clothes. So Brahmaji is condemning such a people. Brahmaji is saying, you have given your guidance on how to deal with this world, how to live in this world, how to leave the world, and about different things. But those who don't follow your plan, they are cut into pieces. Like this person will be cut into pieces inside the washing machine. So that is how he condemns such people. And then he says, these foolish people think we are very intelligent. But even me, myself, I live for 2 prarabdhas. 2 prarabdha means first 50 years of Brahma is called first prarabdha, second 50 years is called second prarabdha. And that equals to 311 trillion 40 billion years. Then he says, I am leader of all the planets. I have everything in control. And I have your realization also. I have got your self-realization. And if I am offering my obeisance unto you and following your plans, who are these foolish people? So Brahma, whose whole intelligence is made up of, whose whole body is made of intelligence, who lives for so long, who has everything in control, he has got self-realization also. And if he's offering obeisances, then there are some tiny, puny people who think, I know how to deal with this world. So then Brahma is condemning such people. And then he praises the Lord by saying, as far as you are concerned, my Lord, you are so merciful that you have appeared in different incarnations. So to help such foolish people, you appear. So in what lower species Lord appears? Some examples.
Varaha.
Pig, fish.
Fish.
Yeah, Varadev. Yes, fish incarnation, Meena avatar, Matsya avatar.
Turtle.
Yeah, Kurma avatar as turtle. So in this way, Lord appears in all the lower species just to attract everyone. Just to attract everyone. So that is how Lord wants to attract all sort of people. All sort of people. So that is his mercy.
When
Now,
Puji,
somebody need
among the
20.
demigods also it is written in the translation.
Yeah, Vamandev. Vamandev is called Upendra, the younger brother of Indra. So that demigods. Now somebody need 20, 21, 22.
My lord, you accept the pleasure of sleeping in the water of devastation, where there are violent waves, and you enjoy pleasure on the bed of snakes, showing the happiness of your sleep to intelligent persons. At that time, all the universe planets are stationed within your abdomen. Text 21. O object of my worship, I am born from the house of your lotus navel for the purpose of creating the universe by your mercy. All these planets of the universe were stationed within your transcendental abdomen while you were enjoying sleep. Now, your sleep having ended, your eyes are open like blossoming lotuses in the morning. Text 22. Let the Supreme Lord be merciful towards me. He is the one friend and soul of all living entities in the world, and he maintains all for their ultimate happiness by his six transcendental opulences. May he be merciful towards me so that I, as before, may be empowered with the introspection to create, for I am also one of the surrendered souls who are dear to the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So in verse number 20, he glorifies the Lord. Now he's glorifying directly Garbhodaksha Vishnu. How you are nicely sleeping in the violent waves of water devastation. And as far as I am concerned, I am so fearful. So the way the lotus was moving and the waves are going up and down, I became very fearful. But as far as you are concerned, you take pleasure in such a situation. People are fearful of snakes, and you are lying on the bed of snakes. And all the universe planets, ultimately, they are stationed in your abdomen. From your abdomen comes a lotus flower, and in that all the fertile planetary systems are there. And me too is born from that lotus only. So earlier you were sleeping, now you have opened your eyes. And because you have opened your eyes, please be merciful towards me. And now he's offering the prayers for his seva. So he said that you are friend of everyone, you are mentor of everyone. And so in this way, be merciful to me also. Because I want to create. And creation needs introspection. So that's why I'm sending soul to you. Please help me. Like Radhadhar 2 may be remembering that when we were giving competitive exams, so little bit disturbance would create a lot of disturbance. Because certain tough problems need introspection. You have to go in so much of detail, technical details. And with all such introspection, we can just solve few problems. But the best of the scientists of the modern day can't create even a single cell. It is so complex. Even creating a single cell is complex. And Brahmaji is creating so many entities and so many cells and so many things. So then we can imagine the amount of introspection required for power of introspection required for Brahma. So Brahma is asking for that empowerment. And he said that ultimately I want to serve you, Lord, in that way. So please accept my prayers and give me the power to serve you. For us also, we can pray. We need a lot of introspective power to understand scriptures and chant Hare Krishna also. So when our mind wanders here and then we can pray, my dear Lord, you give us some concentration so that we can concentrate on your holy name. एसा प्रपन्न वरदो रमयात्म शक्त्या
Esa prapana varado ramayatma satya
यद्यत् करिष्यति गृहीत गुणावतारः
Yadyat
yat
karishyati grihita
karishyate grihita
gunavatarah
gunavataraha
तस्मिन् सविक्रमम् इदं सजतोऽपि चेतो
tasmin
tasmin
swavikramam idam
swavikramam idam
srijato
jato api
picheto
cheto
युज्जीत कर्म समलं च यथा विजयाम्
yushjita karma
Yujita karma
shamalam cha
samalam
yatha
chayata
vijahyam.
vijaya.
Please use that translation in the purport.
The Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, is always the benefactor of the surrendered souls. His activities are always enacted through his internal potency, Rama, or the goddess of fortune. I pray only to engage in his service in the creation of the material world, and I pray that I not be materially affected by my works, for thus I may be able to give up the false prestige of being the creator. Purport. In the matter of material creation, maintenance, and destruction, there are three incarnations of the material modes of nature: Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar. But the Lord's incarnation as Vishnu in his internal potency is the supreme energy for the total activities. Brahma, who is only an assistant in the modes of creation, wanted to remain in his actual position as an instrument of the Lord instead of becoming puffed up by the false prestige of thinking himself the creator. That is the way of becoming dear to the Supreme Lord and receiving his benediction. Foolish men want to take credit for all creations made by them, but intelligent persons know very well that not a blade of grass can move without the will of the Lord. Thus, all the credit for wonderful creations must go to him. By spiritual consciousness only can one be free from the contamination of material affection and receive the benedictions offered by the Lord.
Thank you. So, in this way, Brahma, he continues with his prayers. He says that, my dear Lord, when I will be creating, then there is a chance that I may become materially affected by my work. Everybody will glorify, oh, you've done this creation, that creation, you are Parampita. And even demons can't come to Brahmaloka. I have such a position. So there's every chance that I may be swayed away either by the passion of creation, or I may be swayed away with a desire to enjoy false prestige, etc. So please, Lord, save me. So you are always benefactor to the surrendered soul. And you enact your pastimes through internal potency, Rama Devi. So now, my dear Lord, please save me. Please let me not go into the illusion thinking that I am the creator. Please let me always remember that you are the ultimate creator. So that is how he prays. Please read 24th.
The Lord's potencies are innumerable as he lies down in the water of devastation. I am born as the total universal energy from the never lake in which the lotus sprouts. I am now engaged in manifesting his diverse energies in the form of the cosmic manifestation. I therefore pray that in the course of my material activities, I may not be deviated from the vibration of the Vedic hymns. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So now he says that I am born from the lotus which emanated from the lake of your neighbor. And now ultimately, I am going to use your energies only for the service of manifesting this cosmic manifestation. So please bless me that it should not happen that I become so much swayed away by the material activities of creation that I deviate from the vibration of Vedic hymns. So it's like for us also it might happen that when we're doing services, then we become so much absorbed in the service, it might happen that we stop our Sravanam Kirtan. So Brahma is saying, no, that's not it. So please bless me that all these things should not happen. And then he speaks verse number 25, which our pujaris also speak for waking up the Lord. So beautiful prayer. So asavadabra karano bhagavan vivriddha
Asavadabra karuno bhagavan vivriddha
premasmitena nayanam buruham vijamban
Premasmitena nayanam puruham vichrimbam
uttaya visvajayaya chano visadam
Uttaya Vishwavijayaya chano Vishadam
Madhyagirapnayatat Purusa Puranaha.
Madhyagirapanayatat Purusha Puranaha.
Please read the translation and the purport.
The Lord, who is supreme and is the oldest of all, is unlimitedly merciful. I wish that he may smilingly bestow his benediction upon me by opening his lotus eye. He can uplift the entire cosmic creation and remove our dejection by kindly speaking his directions. Purport by Divine Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord is ever increasingly merciful upon the fallen souls in the world. The whole cosmic manifestation is a chance for all to improve themselves in devotional service to the Lord, and everyone is meant for that purpose. The Lord expands himself into many personalities who are either self-expansions or separated expansions. The personalities of the individual souls are his separated expansions, where the self-expansions are the Lord himself. The self-expansions are predominators, and the separate expansions are predominated by reciprocation of transcendental bliss with the supreme form of bliss and knowledge. The liberated souls can join in this blissful reciprocation of predominator and predominated without materially concordant ideas. The typical example of such a transcendental exchange between the predominator and predominated is the Lord's Ras Leela with the gopis. The gopis are predominated expansions of the internal potency, and therefore the Lord's participation in the Ras Leela dance is never to be considered like the mundane relationship of man and woman. It is rather the highest perfection stage of the exchange of feelings between the Lord and the living entities. The Lord gives the fallen souls the chance for his highest perfection of life. Lord Brahma is entrusted with the management of the complete cosmic show, and therefore he prays that the Lord bestows his blessings upon him so that he may execute its purpose. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So this verse is praying to the Lord that please open your eyes and with your smile give me benedictions. So in this way, Uthaya Visvajaya, uplift the entire cosmic creation by your glance. Cha no visadam, and remove the dejection by giving your directions. So gira apne, gira means speaking. So please speak your direction so that the dejection of this world can be removed and the entire cosmic manifestation can be uplifted. Because all these living entities are so much dejected that we don't have a gross body to enjoy. So unless until there is a creation, how will they get gross bodies? So please give your directions. Yes, verse that.
Just sharing, Prabhuji. So when I read this verse, I thought I've read this somewhere, even though I haven't read third canto. Then I realized that this is pasted on in our temple when we go in the morning to wake up the Lord. So we have to read this prayer before we enter the Lord's room. So now I remember that it's the same verse that is pasted there that we have to read.
Yes, Hari Hari. So this is a prayer for all pujaris. You have to listen. And that is also the end of Brahmaji's prayer. So we'll just go through last three verses.
The sage Maitreya said, O Vidura, after observing the source of his appearance, namely the personality of Godhead, Brahma prayed for his mercy as far as his mind and words would permit him. Thus, having prayed, he became silent, as if tired from his activities of penance, knowledge, and mental concentration. The Lord saw that Brahma was very anxious about the planning and construction of the different planetary systems and was depressed upon seeing the devastating water. He could understand the intention of Brahma, and thus he spoke in deep, thoughtful words, removing all the illusion that had arisen.
Thank you. So after hearing Brahmaji's prayers, Lord bestowed his mercy upon Brahma, because he saw that Brahmaji is now silent. He says, I'm very fearful, I can't do this seva, becoming very difficult. So then Lord could understand Brahmaji seeing this water, and he was thinking, how can I make do creation at all? Only three elements are there: water, air, and Akash. Akash Tattva is there, sky. So out of five, only three tattvas are there. And then this lotus is there at the top. This water devastation is like now wavering the lotus like anything. So then Lord could understand, and now he gives his instructions to Brahma from verse number 29. So though it is a different section, so we'll directly take this different section in the next class.
Prabhuji, one question.
Yes.
Prabhuji, the Supreme Lord is replying, but this is Garbhodakshaya Vishnu or is Krishna? Because in the previous verses we understand that there was a reference to Krishna's form also, whom Brahmaji saw. So who is replying here, Prabhuji? Who is responding?
Yeah. So as far as Vishnu Chakravarti Thakur is concerned, he's saying it's Krishna. And as far as Prabhupada is concerned, he's seems to be referring to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And it might happen that both are true. So the person who's giving directions at the end may be Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, and the person who spoke at the beginning is Krishna. That is also quite possible. So we have two opinions, and both are supposed to, both are supposed to be true. See, generally what happens is it's like we have this art of, I just forgot the name, hermeneutics, something like that. So Krishna Chaitanya Maharaj was talking about it. So this is basically the art of reconciling. So then we asked Maharaj, how do you reconcile? Because he has written the books in Oxford University, and he's a well-known scholar, rather the most popular scholar in the outside world, in the academics. So then Maharaj said, I don't reconcile. I just give two opinions and then leave the audience to decide. So I say, this Acharya has spoken this, that Acharya has spoken that. And then devotee says, who's right? You decide. And basically both are right. It's a different devotees may see the same Pashan with different perspective. And both can be right. So difficult. Okay, so we'll end here. Randra Sivan Bhagavatam ki Shilpopad ki jai. Vancha Karpadu Vaisha Karpa Sindhu Patana Bhavne Vaishnu Shilpopad ki.
Hare Krishna.